so much of healing this is just laughing at the things that you used to do because of it. Like, I used to edit my face on Instagram. Like, I would edit my eyeballs. I would make them bigger. Like, trying to be, like, fit the fucking standard of beauty that males would like. I used to, like, edit my boobs to be, like, these giant melons and post it. Acting like, ugh. And like people in school would be like, your boobs are cute, here. Me on Facetune. But yeah, these are some of the things that I used to do in order to appease the male gaze, and that just takes us deeper into the patriarchy. And like I said, back in the day, I wasn't thinking I'm doing this for the male gaze. No, I was doing it because that's the messaging that I got around me. That was the messaging of this is how you had to be, and this is how you shouldn't be, so be more like this. But yeah, I definitely did some ridiculous things when I was in my teenage years. Welcome to the video. This is going to be the healing for the patriarchy that you really do need. And I'm just glad that you're here and you're showing up, because healing this is going to transform you so deeply and put you into your authentic self. Because the path is to get back to our authentic self. But how can we do that when our brains and our bodies and our survival and our nervous system is built in a structure that's really built for self-destruction and patriarchal worldviews, horrible towards women, children, and men, specifically men. So this video is going to be towards men and women and whoever comes along and who's ready to just free this within their mind and their psyche and free themselves in their liberation. So I wrote a blind spot so deadly that until you break free, you realize that it has been playing out in every action scenario you are in, creating this sheet of conditioning that has bounded your character and identity for years, otherwise known as patriarchy. The patriarchy is built on 4 main beliefs, and you should know these beliefs so that you can start bringing awareness to when they are popping up. The first one is that men are superior to others, that they are the superior being, right? And that it comes into this triangle formation kind of thing. Men are the superior being. And this means violence, aggression, intimidation, and other acts of threat and power are normalized and okay to be used under typical circumstances. There's no ethics. They use humiliation towards a smaller, right? A smaller person in size and, you know, position in society. And they're emotionless. They don't know how to express emotions except maybe very manly anger and aggression, right? And they don't take feedback. They don't hear the opinions of others. They're not considering the feelings of the world and the things that they are destructing with this type of behavior, because to them, this is what they were taught. This is how you have to be a man. Okay, so they're very tribalistic. And their entire self is built on this belief. Okay, so this first is the main belief, that's the underlying. Second belief is, if you are a male, then if you were born as a male body, and I'm going to talk about females too, but if you were born as male body, then you must do everything and anything to uphold that standard of belief. That your whole life has to be predicated on becoming that standard. I wrote, and I would say if you're a woman, this is the standard of success you were given, you were shared, opposing to the other option for women. So as a woman in this generation, you were born into the patriarchy world. That's how you be successful. It's a man's world and you have to act that way in order to get to the top and be successful in business and all these things in your life, right? You have to act that way. But it's opposed to also the other side of woman, how they act in this standard. And this is what breeds this, I guess, toxic, overpowering, aggressive femininity, which is the other option besides being like a man, is to be docile and domesticated. Very, you know, passive, or very easy to control. This is the other option. So like someone like me, it's like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I'm born into this, so I'm doing all these things. But then when I started to awaken, you know, to the awaken of the truth of my being, my soul, my spirit within, I realized that this wasn't me in the first place. So why the hell am I acting this way? But how do I act then? Because the model that I am shown isn't fulfilling in either aspect. That's from a woman's perspective. So you either conform to this or else, you know, or else. So that's number 2. Number 3, you aren't a real person. You aren't a whole person. You can never succeed unless, and you can never succeed with women, succeed with business, succeed with relationship in general, unless you uphold this standard. So once again, making it impossible for anyone to really be their true self, always in a pursuit of something that's not them, because they believe that if they do achieve that, finally they'll get the love and the needs met that they needed since they were a kid. And then I would say, so if you are a real person, you can never succeed with women's success, relationships, life in general, if you are that man, that standard of man, this no emotion, strong, dominating, taking over, I run this place and I control everybody, and as soon as you don't listen, I'm gonna attack kind of thing, this kind of energy. If you aren't that type of man, for women, it's to that man that's not like that, they have this worldview, right? This is toxic. Hold on, guys. I gotta regulate myself. For a woman, it's, I'm gonna use you until someone else better comes along. That's more like that standard, because that means my survival is safer. You are nice. You know, you're nice. You're a nice guy. You're like a beta guy. Like, okay, like you're doing enough for me. But if somebody else comes along that's better, that's stronger, and then fits this model more, I'm gonna go for them, because that will protect my survival more. This is the toxic worldview I'm playing out for you. So I must pursue that type of male. This is that again. Even if he is making me feel like a lesser and is abusive, at least he needs me to validate him and his worldview. And under the spell of the patriarchy, this is the role playing for the woman and the man. He needs me, I keep him, you know, and the man is like, I control her, you know, this dynamic. Oh, he's mean, but like, I love him. This kind of energy, okay? He's toxic and abusive and hits me, but like, he needs me. He can't live without me. You know, this kind of thing. Which brings me into the 4th belief. This is real shit, guys. I'm speaking from my own direct experience of things that I have watched, have been a part of, have been inside of, have experienced in front of my face, have been, and I'll get into the stories afterwards. So it's just like, wowza. Number 4. Everything in society should be enforced to withhold this order, right? And if they don't, my self-esteem as the man is hugely at threat, and the more I will double down on the way of the patriarchy, toxicity towards myself and other people. So you have this standard of being, you're told this since you're a baby, right? And I wrote, which is why men under this and women are always looking for validation towards their self-esteem to see how closely they measure up to this worldview and structure, okay? So as a baby, you're told this is how you have to be. And you have this macho idea in your head of how men are. And as soon as that doesn't get validated in the external, because that's just not how life is, right? You're not validated for your self-esteem. No one's going to always validate your greatness or your goodness or you doing the right thing. You're not going to get any of that. Especially if you have a healthy self-esteem, you have to be the one to build that for yourself. But men that are in this patriarchal worldview, I'll talk about women after, but men specifically, if they don't get that validation, they double down on that and they lash out and attack. And there's something wrong out there that I have to change and fix.
in order to make me feel like my sense of self is stable enough. Okay, because their sense of self is so broken because it's built on this toxic masculinity, patriarchal viewpoint, which I just shared all the things, that any threat to that doesn't withhold the self-esteem of that and validate that, like, like that, is a threat to this, so they will lash out. And I see this most specifically in expression of emotions, an expression of feelings. A very patriarchal person will attack somebody that's expressive in their feelings. Why? Because they're taught emotionless, no feelings, do not express. That's a threat to your safety. That's a threat to your survival. So if you do it, we will have to attack. And if you did in the past, you most likely got attacked, so then now you build this trauma response, which is, I have to attack them because they're doing something wrong, okay? This works in both genders. I'm sharing from a man's position, now because I've been in the position of being attacked. Violence, I've been punched, yes, I have been attacked, okay? So I've been attacked by men, I've been yelled at by men, I've also just been made feel like I can't be emotional in front of them, or they leave, or they shut me out, or this kind of thing. And I didn't realize that was me trying to fight against that patriarchal system back when I was doing these things and when I was in these experiences. I didn't know, because I would definitely try to free myself in some sort of way, and it ended up being just a very painful and tragic situation. So I don't recommend that, right? But what I do share is that if you are in that spell, this is typically the behavior of a male. They see in expression and they want to shut it down and double it down, stop the progress of that. We see this in the world too. So it doesn't have to be so violent, like to the point where they attack you, but it could be just like they have this hate towards you, or this judgment towards you. I've seen women who are under this spell act that way towards emotions. Because a lot of this worldview is not just for men and women, it's for the suppression of liberation of somebody. The suppression of other power in order to uphold this type of power. This unjust, unbalanced, hyper toxic power of these. And then the lower is everything less. So what happens when somebody that's less than you comes up with power? I must attack. It might shut it down like fire, putting fire out. So that's kind of my explanation for number 4. Because I've been in a dynamic where constant needing validation and reciprocation from the other person to tell them that they're great, or to tell them that they're doing the right thing, or they need it. And this showed up in my own psyche because of my upbringing that was around me. And I'm like, I wrote now for the next half. Examples in culture. How it creates a mental warping for men and women, and why becoming self-aware of this playing out within you will heal and liberate the mind, body, and soul. You know I'm all about healing, and healing from the paradigms that we are locked into, because freeing the mind just allows for such a deep, more fulfilling experience. So here we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit from a woman's perspective here, which is under this paradigm, and why it begins to create certain things for us when we are still within this. Oh, I hear you now. I see where I went. Okay. Ready. Okay. The deep fear I feel for being attacked by male predators, for not wanting to go to places with them or being with them when I don't know them, is deeply primitive, and it comes down to patriarchal belief system, which categorizes males to be this toxic and primal destructive animal. And a lot of times within that structure, this is what our minds create and attract into our experiences. Especially when you are growing up under this, you attract experiences that match your subconscious program, not the ideal way that's healthy. So patriarchy is in your subconscious, and you are creating experiences of that until it's fully seen and healed from, you can only begin to live a life that isn't run by this conditioning. And it goes so deep. So it's why we must continue to bring examples out to realize what's the case. So I wrote that to understand how you can keep on creating this experience unless it is brought to the surface. And especially if you were abused by a patriarchal father, you were molested or sexually assaulted as a child, you know, you believe a certain way about men. And then you have these memories that validate that belief. And then what happens? You keep on creating that belief and that scenario playing out in your life. This is how powerful the mind is, guys. Why we must heal from our trauma. Men, now I'm going to take it from men. I know I'm a woman, but listen to this. Men can be sexually assaulted, sexually abused, of course, as a child, by other men, right? They could be raped by their own fathers and other men of higher, I'm superior, I can do what I want to you, right? And so these children are born in another patriarchal system where they either feel that men are going to attack them or a threat, or they have to be the one to do that to other people. Trauma's living in the body and the soul. And again, it's going to keep on creating situations like this unless we fully heal it. Unless we bring it to the surface, allow those sensations to be felt, release it, and recognize that unfortunately we were in a traumatic experience. We were abused as a child. And because of the toxic culture that has warped men, or, you know what, also let's just say survival. Let's just be real and say survival. The survival circumstances that we animals, animals have been coming from have been more primitive and dark, and now we're coming to a point where it is more holistic and healthy. But this is the transition process, right? We have to learn and understand where we come from and why. Sorry, my camera died and I had no storage. Okay. We have to understand where we're coming from and why, right? So that we can begin to see how our nervous system and our survival defenses and our brain and the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn and the things are still in action, even if we're safe, even if we're healthy, even if we're here, which could kind of create this perception of your life and falsity that's placed on the world when it's really not happening anymore. Thank the Lord, right? I sound like a Christian. Thank the God, right? Thank the God within. The awareness is shining now, and it's allowing for new experiences to be created that are healthy and genuine and authentic, right? Because that's what we're really aiming for, so that we can birth the next generation of people that are healthy and authentic and actually not under this spell. Please, please, please. I really hope that my boys and my women and my kids are fine, you know, and they're not under this. And they can be themselves. They could have all their emotions. They can, you know, be angry and mad and process that and hold space for them. And I just want to be able to hold space for them, just like I hold space for myself when I'm in those modes, right? So I'm learning, right? Because a lot of my aggression comes from learning. Aggression is how you get your needs met. What do you mean? That's what everyone around me is doing. And I've learned that that's how you succeed as a male. And since I'm somebody that really cares for my own self and wants to be empowered and wants to help other people, I just thought I have to go up and fight. I have to step into a situation that's dangerous to protect the people. I thought this for so long. And there's nothing wrong with it per se, except that it hurts me. It actually damages me, and I've been hurt, so that's all. Okay. So another way that it shows up is in success. And we talked about this in step 1. Like, if you have to be successful, you have to be this way. And I kind of just shared with that story, but so forcing success onto others. Forcing your way to success is if your whole life is dependent in it, and inside this structure it is. Your whole life's dependent on this inside the structure. If you identify as a male and aren't living up to this level of success that the culture tells you is how a man should be, and I saw this in the example of a video, 6 foot, 6 inches, 6 figures, then there will always be an inadequate feeling within you from the get-go, right? Even though it's a bit dramatic, it breeds the issue because underneath the macho appearance is a child who is forced out of authenticity and their true self and placed in a category of pursuit they will never match up with, no matter how hard
no matter how much they try, and the reason behind it. Give me that a moment to clear, because I feel it in my own nervous system how that's so true for me. And not even because I'm in this female body, right? I'm in this female body, but because my subconscious program is this, guys. This is what I'm around. This was what I was around. This is what I was born into, and this is what I saw for years. And so I have a lot of those same structures and beliefs that I'm clearing, right? A lot of men I meet are just constantly pursuing this still, and it's exhausting, and they're living a life that isn't for them. For a woman, this shows up as mating and in the bedroom, always trying to shapeshift to be this hot and sexy, male-adored woman. Clean shaven, beautiful, not messy or too expressive, gross or wild, or really comfortable. You can't be comfortable. You will always be analyzing to make sure he is okay with you and isn't upset, and that the environment is okay and not going to punish you for stepping too far out of line from this character. This also shows up with work and success. But going to that point, just like I was talking about in the first half of the video of trying to be this, look different. I would literally, like I showed you, I would literally make my eyes bigger because I was trying to be this like doll-like girly. And this so cute and sexy for the males. And it was just like so toxic for my worldview. I actually ended up going into a really bad eating disorder. I was severely anorexic. And I almost died from this because I was pursuing being something other than what I wasn't. To be loved, to be liked, to get my attention, to get my needs met, all this shit, whatever I was doing it for. But, I mean, eating disorders, I mean, it's kind of hard. I felt like there were so many reasonings to why, but what it did was it freed me from the pain I was feeling inside. I was creating more pain for myself, but at least I had something to pursue. That was mine. It's a sensitive topic. I don't want to cry. But do I believe that patriarchy plays a huge role in it? Yeah, unfortunately. I think it plays a huge role in a lot of eating disorders, especially even male eating disorders and male abuse. It's just like, if you don't add up to this, then you're really worthless. And that's how it feels for a female when it comes to the body stuff and when it comes to appearance. If you don't add up to this, you're worthless. And it sucks because you could be a very beautiful female and you still don't add up to the standard, and you're worthless because of that. Because of the patriarchy, because of the system that you're under. And I don't want to blame the system, right? But if so much of our worldview is built in this structure, I mean, what is the reason you don't like yourself? Is it because you don't actually like yourself, or is it because the world around you won't like you, and that's scary and that's a threat to you, and so you have to feel like I have to be everything for them? And so I played that out pretty well in my youth, right? And even now, to this day, I struggle with it at times. Where it's like, do I not like my body? Or am I just scared that if other people see me as heavier or fat, they won't think I'm attractive, and then there goes my survival. My survival's at risk. This goes on my mind all the time as a woman. And I'm sure men do. So, another reason we must heal, guys. Alright. So, films that we watch always depict this. I think of Wolf on Wall Street, right? This is a classic movie that really represents the toxic masculinity and stage orange and spiral dynamics, if you're familiar with that model of this business success pursuit of the macho. So here we have a macho man, Leonardo DiCaprio, and he had other men doing everything to appease his ego, right? Don't not validate the self concept there. And pursuing to be closer to that. That's the ideal standard. We must get that. And then we have the Barbie as the wife, right? Who was okay with all the destructive behavior. And, you know, as long as he's happy. Until she isn't, of course, towards the end. But you stay with that. So for that woman, it's like, but you stay with someone like that because that's the spell of patriarchy taking its course. You barely have free will when you're under this. Okay, so I shared that for my upbringing, where it's just, you know, it's put on you and you just have to conform to it, or you don't fit in and you don't have loving, healthy people around you to support you in not being in this. Because they could do the best they can, but if they're in it, if they're also in it, they can't see. You can't see. Guys, I still couldn't see until a couple of days ago. And then something happened and I'm like, oh, there it is again. Right? My computer's gonna die. My camera's gonna die. So I have to put a new thing in. Next, I'm gonna talk about your needs being met and aggressive behavior. So aggressive behavior and getting your needs met in the patriarchal system. I'm gonna talk about it from a woman's perspective towards men, because I feel like this is the most problematic part. And we are constantly in war instead of actually considering how we are feeling and healing in a lot of the world today. Men in patriarchal structures are taught that feeling anything is wrong, anger is allowed, fighting, sure, beating up a smaller person, you gotta do it. But actually allowing all feelings to be felt and expressed in a way that's healing and safe, nope, never gonna happen. That doesn't exist. It's an entire threat to your masculinity to do this. Men in patriarchal see crying as weak. And if a woman cries and isn't angry while she's crying, then they can be there. But if she cries and yells in anger, then they can't be. If she cries and yells in anger, then people in the patriarchal worldview will do everything they can to put that fire out. Expression and emotion is the biggest threat to a sense of self built on no emotion and truthful emotional honesty without a sense of feeling powerless for it. So if they see it, what do? Attack it, judge it, stop it. I'm not just talking about men, women do this too. Stop it. It's not allowed. It's not allowed for themselves because the threat around it is so large and in charge in their mind. They don't know what type of punishment will come and be on the way afterwards. Because it's in the nervous system that you are programmed to say, you were programmed in your nervous system that if you express too much, you are attacked for it. You most likely will... I talked about this in the beginning, in a couple of points back, talking about the expression aspect is the thing that's usually attacked. So, from a nervous system standpoint and trauma standpoint, what happens as a kid is if you get attacked and punished for an expression, then you suppress your emotion. You keep it inside yourself. And then you don't know how to get your needs met. Right? Because you can't use your expression to get your needs met. So, you do the 4 things. Fight, feast, or fawn. Women tend to go to fawn. Pleasing. Men usually go towards aggression. In order to get their need met. Fight and freeze and fawn, those are part of it too. Men and women, everybody does this. I'm just, these two stand out most prevalently in the patriarchy, but the 4, we all do it. Freeze, you shut down, you disassociate, you just go into yourself and you just close off. And then flight is you just dip. Oh fuck, I'm getting out of here, bye, this is too much, bye, run. And men do that too. Bye daddy, daddy, where are you going? Daddy leave, like, right. So because of a threat to their survival, their nervous system acts in these very intelligent ways. This is very smart. This isn't stupid. This is primitive survival from to get by, to survive. But it doesn't work anymore when you're not in those type of situations, when you actually want to heal, when you're safe. It doesn't work anymore. You have to get your needs met. And so much of the nervous system and the healing work that comes from this is actually validating your own needs. You know, putting your needs first. And recognizing your needs, being honest with yourself about your needs. If it's a need for sexual intimacy, being honest about that. I need sexual intimacy right now. Okay, how am I gonna get this? Do I go on my phone and start looking for it?
Do I reach out to somebody that I'm partnering with? Is there a way I can explore this on my own to satisfy myself? There's different ways that we could start to think about it, because there's no safe outlets. And I think that's why a lot of people that are extremely unconscious and in their primitive ego might rape people or might jump and do something crazy, not wanting to, right? But if you're studying from the brain's perspective, this prefrontal cortex just goes, shoop, it's gone. And that you're acting from the amygdala. And it's just like, boom, emotions. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. And I'll do anything I can. And apparently, you know, in a lot of these books, they talk about the sex drive as the most powerful drive in a male's body, in a human force. So, if there's no safe outlet, and if the child never got their needs met, they act out in ways that are unconscious and maybe destructive. I've once seen a man at a library, I'm sitting there and he's touching his penis next to me. At a library, there's kids around, okay? Of course I took care of the situation. I go and I tell the attendant, and he ran. Like he saw me getting up and doing something about it, and he was running. But the thing is, what I realized a lot of things after that experience, which is people don't have a way to get their needs met, as well as the predator lives within the psyche of my own life, lives in my own psyche. So I have understanding. And this is some deep spiritual work, so I'm sorry if it's like way out of your box of reality, but like from my perspective as a spiritual healer, there's a bunch of different archetypes within my own psyche, and then those manifest out into the world. And this is the collective unconscious that's manifest out into the world. And so unless we make the unconscious conscious, you know, it's gonna run our lives, and, you know, but it's like, how do we help these type of individuals heal? Because they never got their needs met. This is how they are. And it's destructive, and it's painful, and it hurts more people that way. So we need to help people. But we don't do that through ignoring our own needs. There's sometimes things that you have to allow other people to help them with. And you have to be the one to first say, okay, what's going on with my own experience? As far as men, I can't talk to you from your sexual drive, because I don't know what that's like. But I can only share from my own direct experiences of what I went through, and understanding my own sexual drive and my own needs within my sexuality, which is probably nothing compared to men, because I've heard from other men that because it's easier for women to get that, it doesn't become this uber needy thing, addictive feeling, versus if it's not easy for males to get it, which is, you know, if you don't fit the standard structure of male, it's going to be very hard for you to get sex when it's your most primitive drive. And then it turns into something that's toxic and destructive and painful, and maybe hate towards the other gender for not giving you what you need or what you want. But it doesn't mean that you force it on them. It doesn't mean that you force them to endure you. It just means that there is another way that you can heal this. And honestly, I'm sorry that if it's difficult for you to get your needs met. But I believe that it starts with being honest with who you are and what's going on the inside, and being honest and confronting what's going on the inside. Because I can almost bet that people that act in this behavior have never looked inside themselves and realized, oh shit, I'm deeply afraid of facing myself within. And they're just living in survival, and they're unconscious, and they're just doing things that their primitive self just acts out. instead of coming back into the soul and the truth of what they are. Because once you've become conscious of the truth of who you are, you don't act this way. You might mess up at times and make mistakes. You're not perfect. You're not a perfect being, but you come to realize that, like, you don't want to hurt people because they're part of your. It's like a whole. It's a whole collective. Lift the whole, heal the whole, right? I guess that's a good point. I think that's a good point to end off on. I wrote a prayer, and I wanted to go into prayer with you guys, because I feel prayer is like one of the most powerful things to help with peace and healing within my own self and the other person, and it really does work. I mean, how much faith do you have? I have a lot of faith, so here we go. Put you in a little mini meditation. Let's come back into our body now, feeling ourselves sitting here. Dear God, please continue to shine the light of your awareness on me and others who are here to heal and free our minds from destructive systems. Not here to empower spirit, but to control and conform human beings from the light of truth. O Lord, please help me and my brothers and sisters so we are beyond the circumstances that we end up in. Please, God, take care of me so I can fully heal this within my own being and help others do the same. I want to finalize by saying the patriarchy is not built for women or men to succeed. The 1% that do fit the standard are in harm's way. They're not succeeding. The world isn't built to dominate and control and box yourselves or others. We will heal, and we can and we will heal from the pain. Hold on, I want to go back because I had a little bit of moralistic condescendingness there. That fit the stances are also in harm's way. The 1% might have the things that looks like they got what they needed, but they're in constant threat, they're in constant fear, they're in constant trying to hold and withhold, because the whole world around them is showing them the opposite. And so living this way can really be crippling to your ego. And in order to heal and have a healthy human experience, we need a healthy ego, not one built on destruction and lies and falsity. Actually, one that's established in your being and self. Thank you. Thank you for listening with me today. I'm so glad that you showed up. And I really hope that this changes you and empowers you and brings more collective healing and peace, because we deserve that. We've come such a long way, and I just can't wait to raise the next generation of beings into light. Right, with the light. And with honesty with their darkness too. That's what healing's about. Bye.